who are you and what got you started into everything that it is you're doing in your ecosystem, my friend?
Yeah, it's a interesting, well, maybe an interesting kind of story. I don't think it's like remarkable by any means, but it's right around finishing high school. Like I was an athlete in high school. I played hockey. I was interested in all kinds of sports. Like I competed in wrestling and lacrosse. I even figure skated because I heard when I was younger, around 10, 11, I think I figure skated for 3 years, that I heard something on Hockey Night in Canada or something that one of the goalies said that they did figure skating because it helped them with their edges or something like that. So I was like,
I'm learning new things today.
yeah, and I was a young goalie, and I looked at my mom and said, I think I need to do figure skating. And aside from the teasing and the, all that kind of stuff that you get at school and whatnot, it definitely improved my skating, edges, balance, and it was from that standpoint, it did the job. But hockey was the main focus. I was a goaltender. I was always a smaller stature goaltender, so I had to play like Curtis Joseph and Andy Moog and those types of guys.
You come in with the legends today.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Oh yeah, those were the guys. Well, those were I guess the time Ed Belfour was there. Marty Brodeur was starting to get going. Mike Richter. So we're talking back in the mid-90s. Yeah, early to mid-90s kind of thing. So pursued that. I played junior C. I played some junior A. I had a cup of coffee at the varsity level in ESports when I was doing my master's. But the sports psych wasn't really, well, it's not the field and profession that it is today, and we're still breaking through and getting the word out there about what mental performance is. But at the time, there was a new program that was started at Laurentian, and it was at Laurentian University in Sudbury. And I was already going there for human kinetics or phys ed. And then this program came up. A recruiter came to our high school and mentioned it. And then so I took the postcard and I called up the course director and boom, transferred over all my applications, and we were in the sports psych program. So
I like that.
It was because I didn't want to go to teacher's college and be a teacher, but then I ended up being a teacher.
End up being the teacher.
End up teaching not at the high school level, but at the post-secondary level. I always knew there was something else at play. There's the physical, you can train, but there was always something else that was missing, or just maybe not missing, but just not acknowledged as much today. Like mental performance has been a part of
for sure
human achievement.
That's the thing, right? So, mental performance, and I think it speaks to everything, right? It speaks to like podcasting, speaks to our business, the ebbs and flows, social media, marketing, a whole bunch of stuff, right? So what was the first book that you went to when you're looking at understanding the mental performance and things like that?
So aside from like the main textbooks, like Foundations of Sport and Exercise Psych, there's when I first really started getting interested in this side, I started reading books like The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, like The Four Agreements. It wasn't so much sport focused; it was more so like lifestyle and like I don't want to say like there was a spiritual element to it, but there was a connection of the mind and the body in an interesting way, kind of thing. So you can't really have one without the other.
For sure.
So the books were, so a lot of interesting books. I'd have to say first things that got me onto it was The Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, The Sacred Journey of the Peaceful Warrior, all those kind of things where it kind of brought in or highlighted that other realm of how your thoughts, your emotions, and everything like that can impacts your behavior. Mm-hmm. And then as we get 20, 25 years down the line, it's you look at a situation and you see the person and you're wondering why this behavior happened, but you take the person and their personality, you combine that with the environment, and then you can kind of figure out why a person might have behaved in that particular moment.
No, absolutely. And I like that you say that, even thinking about us in every day, right? And the mental performance and the gymnastics that we have to do because we have our bills. Mm-hmm. We've got the roof over our head, mm-hmm. providing and all this other stuff. Speak to it from that perspective first and what the audience could learn about that. What's the first thing they can do? And then let's switch it over and focus to sports.
Well, I think life is a performance domain. Like you said, we have so many areas or so many hats or responsibilities that we have to wear. If you have your job, your career. Maybe that you have a main job and a couple side hustles. Maybe you got family, you got people that depend on you. Maybe there's lots of hats, lots of responsibilities that we have, whether we choose them or they just get thrown at us. So in that sense, life is a performance domain. Some days are going to be a lot better than others. Some days you're going to feel a lot more productive than others. It's the days that talking with some of the younger kids, it's the days that you do the things that you don't want to do. Absolutely. That's the mental toughness. Every time you do something that you would rather procrastinate with, or you just, it's take out the garbage now, or do this or do that. It's every time you do that, that is an element, you're showcasing an element of mental toughness in my mind anyways.
No, and I agree. I agree, because it's like I said, there's so many distractions in the world. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We open up the news, we see all of these different things. But we have to focus back to ourselves. And I feel like a lot of us may not know how to do that. So it's conversations like this that inspire change, right? And it gives either that man, that woman, that child that hope to be like, Wade, Rory can do and speak on the things to help. I always say the 1% better approach and things like that.
Well, part of what we do as mental performance consultants is help provide perspective. Right. One of my mentors, Wendy Jerome, that started the program in Sudbury. She's a legend in the sports psychology, mental performance, at least from a Canadian standpoint and educational standpoint. She said to me the other week that not everyone's going to be a champion. There's going to be only one person could be a champion at one time for every sport activity. So she said a part of our job is to help the athletes that we're working with be okay with not getting the outcome that they wanted, so that they can move forward, they can put it into perspective, they can utilize it, take the lesson, maybe remove some of the judgment and criticism and comparison, and then move forward with it.
Yeah. Well, if you speak to that, like we spoke about Joe Flacco, you speak about the greats. Not all the greats win the championship the first entry. We can't be all like, we're about to age ourselves. Magic Johnson, right? Think about when he came out of Michigan State and then he wins an NBA title the next year. So is there that one athlete outside of Joe Flacco, outside of the learnings, the teachings, the mentors, the coaches, that you've looked at and you've really studied to what makes their mindset really sharp? And there's no right or wrong answer with this one here.
A few case studies here and there, but there's those athletes that they just kind of have it, or these people just kind of have it. It's the way they carry themselves. There's an air about them. It's not overtly cocky or overconfident. It's just there's an assurity there that they know that when push comes to shove, I've done my training, I've done my work. We're at this point now, so it's time to go. Let's put up or shut up kind of thing. Course. And there's just this quiet confidence and air about it that you're like, that person, yeah. Sometimes even our body language gives us away most of the time.
Right.
It deceives us more often than not.
Yeah.
I think we have it all together, but there's certain moments or certain, things that that facial expression or that whatever. And it's like those little moments and you're like, ooh.
Speak to that, like those moments, especially with athletes, because there's so many things. There's social media.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the biggest thing that we need, but it can serve such a distraction. Yes.
Oh, it is. It is. It's these moments here where, you don't, especially if you're in the playoffs or you're in the season championship, it's like you try to reduce the distractions and the noise, right? It's like get the blinders on the horse, let's go kind of thing, everything else doesn't matter. So, trying to reduce as many distractions as possible. Yeah, put your social media down, look at pictures of your dogs and your kids or whatever, feel good, even for a moment kind of thing.
No, for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. We're basically conditioned now to every beep, every click, every ding, every whatever.
The dopamine.
We're right.
The dopamine hits. Yeah, because it's like. What's your name again? Christina said it right before the pod. She talks about turning off all of her notifications. Yep. So is that something that you encourage the youth to do too?
I try to. It's the suggestions. We know that the kids probably spend way too much time on, youth, adolescents, way too much time on screens anyways, but or we all do. But yeah, it's something. How can you set yourself up for success? Eliminate your distractions. where and this probably might sound a little cliche, but where your attention goes, the energy flows. So if it's if your attention on this and all these social media hits, and well, that's where all your energy is going to go into. And then
give the audience 3 ways they can do that right now, today while listening to this.
Say for the phone, like with their phone?
With their phone.
Put it on silent.
Okay.
Number one. When you're working, or set up your time blocks. Maybe when you're working, you turn your phone over so you don't even see it, don't even hear it, and it's out of your eye, like your field of vision. So maybe you're at your desk and it's over here. For 30 minutes, try it. For sure. 20 minutes, try it, right? See how long you can go. Try it without touching your phone. Just leave, when you're doing your daily stuff, like say your stuff around the house, domestic stuff, maybe your laundry or whatever, or tidying up, leave your phone in another room. Do you really need to have it on you all the time?
Right.
That's the question I ask myself. It's like, oh, go and do the laundry. Oh, I need to grab my phone. I'm like, why? Why do I need my phone? To go change my laundry over.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's so funny you say that, because I'll be at my work desk and you notice I have 2 phones, right? So one for social media and the other one's just simply for calls, texts, things like that. And like content creation stuff always happens on this phone here too. And there'll be times where I'll have my phone here, it's at my work desk, and I'll throw it, right? Because I'm like, I got to lock in. I got to really go 0 dark 30. Yep. LeBron James says that a lot. When he was going through the trials and tribulations of Miami, Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And because once it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Mm-hmm. And I can really get this task done. And it's like speaking to even the Pomodoro technique, yep. Right? Where a lot of folks could learn from that. Set those time blocks, like you've mentioned, and really just say to yourself how am I going to execute today? Yep. And when I execute that, bada bing, bada boom, you'll see success, right? Yep. That's just what it all comes down to.
Well, even just for that 20 minutes, you say, I focus for this long on one thing. That's a win in and of itself. Did I get 80% of it done? Did I want to get 100? Sure, but I proved to myself that I can work uninterrupted.
No, for sure.
Kind of thing. It's very interesting, and there's a lot of talk on flow and entering the flow state, but the more that we have these things around us, that's going to probably inhibit our ability to enter the flow state, or the flow zone kind of thing. So
you speaking Bruce Lee talk to me a little bit,
absolutely.
Be like water,
Yeah, but be like water, be liquid.
Yeah,
move like water.
Right, I love that. Speak to the difference of mental performance versus creativity.
Yeah, creativity is, mental performance is the systematic application of cognitive principles in the sport context. So our imagery, our self-talk, building our routines, our breathing, those types of things. So mental performance is largely based out of cognitive behavior therapy in terms of the structure. When we're talking about like the therapeutic relationship, but so mental performance is more of that structured, it can do ABC to get myself in the zone, or a higher probability to enter this zone where I can perform or enter that flow state. And then probably within that is where like a lot of the creativity or the mind goes here and opens up some other ideas and things like that. But I would say mental performance is the systematic application of the cognitive principles and skills, and then maybe creativity might be a byproduct of it.
Yeah. So when you speak to your creativity, right, the brand, yourself, Wade, everything you've got going on, how do you distinguish the difference between that creative side and then the mental performance side?
So my mental performance side is how I set my day up, how I approach, how I set my environment up to up my probability of success. So that's what we're trying to do in mental performance is up your probability of success. Be able to be adaptable in any scenario so that you can perform your best. Okay, be able to manage this, manage that, be able to not, intrusive thoughts, be able to. So the mental performance is the preparation and the setup. And then once I've set my environment the way I like it, maybe I got to wipe down the counter, or I got to put, this way, I don't like working in a unkept space. I need to, file my papers and stuff like that. I got 6 to-do lists over here. Like, let's consolidate those down into one so that I can free up that the energy, that space to write the articles that I want to write, and correspond with the guest authors and contributors and things like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think the mental performance kind of allows me to set up so that I can experience that flow state where you kind of feel like you've lost track of hours. Your settings are heightened. Everything around you is going slower, and you're wondering why. Like it's like, oh, I'm in the zone.
I like that. So you feel like you're in the zone right now?
Yeah, feeling good. Yeah,
I love that because you're speaking about authors, and that's where we're going to get into the Mentor magazine and things like that. So speak to that ability, that baby, that passion project. What is that all about, and help the audience understand where they can go for all the resources.
Yeah, so the Mentor magazine is been working on it for a couple of years now, and it's a digital magazine, digital resource. The target market's quite large. It's for athletes, youth athletes, elite athletes, parents, coaches, administrators. It's like a resource and a product where people can go to get credible, valid mental performance content, exercises, techniques, insights, and those types of things. So I wanted to be able to create this because we know that there is kind of a gap in, say, the market where we know that mental performance and mental health and all this is very important, and in the sport context, it's extremely important, especially when we're dealing with athletes that I would consider to be a vulnerable population, considering the what they have to do. So it's kind of meant to kind of cut through that, where it's something that you can find, you can easily locate. It's accessible. It's good quality information because I get countless questions from parents and coaches, and associations want to provide resources for their coaches and for their members, but not sure where to go, not sure how to do that. This is the magazine seemed like a nice entry point to be able to provide a product and a resource / service that's not just me, but a kind of a collaboration of many mental performance. I want to showcase the field and what the field can do, because a lot of people don't even know what the field is. You hear mental performance, they're like, what's that? You hear the word sports psychology, they're like, oh, I understand. But then in Ontario, we can't use the word sports psychology because psychology is a protected term. So there's all kinds of terminology and things that can play into it, which can lead to not accurate information, or even just knowing the associations that are out there. The Canadian Sports Psychology Association, the Association for Applied Sports Psychology in the States, that regulates the new we're certified mental performance consultants now. So it's something that I've seen over like the past 20 years, that there is a lot of information out there that's marketed great, but it's not accurate, and I would say borderline credible in some instances.
No, I love that. So you speak to the magazine. Is it available on an app? Is it available? Do we go to a web page? We sign in? Speak to that a little bit more.
So right now, the magazine is on our website. There's a free issue on the website, mentormagazine.ca. That's like an introductory issue. It's kind of just goes over what mental performance is, what it isn't, where all these great resources. There's a couple like spectrums of care, in terms of like where does or mental performance, and then mental health, because that's a whole other skill set, and where we would have to refer and things like that. But the magazine is on the website. There's a free one there. It's a subscription base. I'm putting out 6 issues a year.
I love that.
And I've got a 5-volume set, so 30 issues in the vision anyway. So this first year, we're just going to be putting out the time management issue coming up. It's more about, this first year is about building the foundation. So we're talking about time management. We're talking about consistency. We're talking about, confidence is a big one. We're talking about self-esteem. And then next year's content's going to kind of be like, we got building the foundation, and then we're going to be like enhancing the mind and body. So that's where we're going to get into more of, say, some of the imagery, the self-talk, those types of things. But it's kind of like set up to be like a journey from the start to the end, from like starting into sport, learning the skills all the way. Like the last volume I have set up, if we're successful, gets into like leadership and legacy and like all of those types of things that kind of like the tail end of the athletic journey.
I love that. So you speak about psychology in Ontario and the term, right? Let's extrapolate that a little bit more just to help the audience understand what's going on.
So the term psychology is protected under, I think it's law, Ontario law from 1992. It's the Registered Health Professions Act.
Okay.
So you have like your physios and all of like the helping professions, and then like psychology or psychologists are in that as well. And then we have the Ontario College, or Ontario Psychology College, and the Ontario College of Psychology, and then there's the Canadian one. But in Ontario, because we have that Registered Health Professions Act, I'm not sure about every province will have it because each province is in charge of their own health, whatever, rules and regulations. But in Ontario, that term is protected by law. So unless you're a registered psychologist or registered psychology, whatever, you can't, that title is not allowed to be used. So what runs the risk or the problem in Ontario is that we have programs that are like, we have bachelors of arts in sports psychology, and we have all these. So there's like the terminology can be very tricky sometimes. And not every mental performance consultant is a sports psychologist.
Okay.
There's difference in training, there's difference in legislation, there's difference in education. So for a mental performance consultant, certified mental performance consultant, you need a master's degree. And the field has really done a great job of putting together the framework for training and certification. You need your 400 hours, you need to supervise this, you need all kinds of, it's really robust, which is great. And then you can kind of practice once you get, certified. For psychology, to practice, you need a degree in psychology. You probably need a PhD in psychology or something in clinical and counseling psychology. And then there's also psychiatrists, which are MDs, and then they specialized in mental illnesses, like the severe mental illnesses and things like that. So a lot of people might call themselves sports psychologists, but that's where the problem lies, especially in Ontario. You got to be very careful of what terminology you use with that. And then also for the public, do some background. Do some, if someone says, look it up, see if in fact that's what their credentials are. If they are, then, they'll have it on their card, their websites, everything will be above board kind of thing. But
the reason why I asked that question is like information, it changes situations. It helped me understand exactly what that is. I never heard about any of that, right? Like for me, coming out of being a health and fitness trainer, from 2012 to just before we entered in pandemic, and obviously that whole entire thing happened. So I had to pivot, if you really want to say it. So I get everything when it comes down to what you say. So it's even understanding more and more of how to say certain things, how we can do certain things. We don't want to misalign with certain folks because then we might step on some toes. When we step on toes, then it's kind of you're now rolling dice, you're in Vegas, you know what I mean? And whatnot.
For example, I might for me, I have a PhD, so I'm technically Dr. Wilson, Dr. Wade, but I'm not a sports psychologist, even though I have a doctorate, but I'm a certified mental performance consultant. My PhD isn't in clinical and counseling psych, nor have I, attempted to pass the exams to be a clinical and counseling psychologist or anything like that. So mental performance is the road. It's just that it gets twisted in the media and everyday conversation. It's I met with a sports psychologist. Okay, great. If they are licensed and regulated, they'll be on the websites. Like our CSPA, Canadian Sports Psychology Association, has a directory with every certified mental performance consultant on there. Same with the Association of Applied Sports Psychology directory with everybody that's met the requirements and everything like that. So it's part of the magazine is, again, that, I guess, educational piece, or just the credible info, or where you can go get the credible info so that you can, make the best choices for yourself. I'm not saying, hey, you got to read the magazine, work with Wade, because it's, saying here's information, good information, quality, it comes from the right sources. Now you can make your own decision.
Absolutely. I love that you say that. So is there a motto that you guys live by? The Mentor magazine?
I would say there's more so values, compassion, balance, humor, wisdom, guidance, those types of things. A lot of it, the mentor comes, I guess, from my brother's, my upbringing. My mom always used to say a lot, try and leave it better than you found it, kind of thing. So I guess this might be, part of my way to kind of maybe give back or put stuff out there that's, that I've spent the last 20, 25 years on, kind of thing. So you just got to, there's not one single motto, or I have a whiteboard beside my desk that has 30 different types of like sayings and stuff on it. You just pick the one. Well, but then it's like whatever one meets the moment, right?
Yeah.
This is something too about how we can be adaptable, and it's like, we might have to change our attitudes from a, we might have to look, if we have a disappointment or a setback. Okay, well, we're gonna have to try really hard to assume the attitude of maybe long-term thinking, or challenge as opposed to threat kind of thing. I'm going to adopt the challenge attitude. So, I can do this as opposed to all the reasons that it probably won't work kind of thing.
I love that.
To avoidance. So it's not, you hear lots about bad attitude and stuff like that. I think that's just a blanket statement. I think we can utilize different attitudes for, based on the scenario that we're in, if we are aware of it, or where our thoughts are.
So when you think about the magazine, right, is there maybe something else you're wanting to add to it? Maybe like get different, maybe ex-athletes to come in and have conversations and things like that? Because we are in Canada, right? And it's like the biggest sport that it is hockey is here, right? We were just talking about hockey, that, the leagues and stuff. But it's like getting like ex-athletes to maybe come in and just do some inserts and stuff.
Absolutely. I have some of my former clients that are at the Paralympian, national, world level in swimming and then boxing. So I think we get overshadowed a lot by like the big four: your baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and there are so many great athletes, so many great stories and journeys that are at, we'll say, like I don't want to say non-traditional sports, but just not the main focus sports that get all the attention. So many other great sports, great stories that are out there. So.
How do you feel like you could shine a light into that department, or really like say, there's nothing wrong with like NHL and MLB and the NBA, but like, let's really peel all of those entire layers back? Do you think that there should be some sort of light? Like, how do we shine that light on Canada's sports? Because we have athletes. We have some predominant athletes, So from my hometown, Shaden Sharp, Chase Brown, Sidney Brown, right? Shaden plays for the Trailblazers. Sid plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. And Chase plays for the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Yep. So you see that little pocket in London, Ontario, population of 500,000. You can make something of yourself. But now if you look at the full GTA, now you're thinking about what? Over close to maybe 2 million people, maybe more in the whole entire GTA. So for the audience, that's American side. GTA is Greater Toronto area, just to make sure y'all are good. Because you're like, GTA, what?
Pretty much just the shore of Lake Ontario.
You see what I'm saying, right? So it's just getting those mindsets to just really understand is that we're here in Canada. We have a lot to offer. You know what I mean? We are your peacekeeping country, if you want to call it. You know what I mean? We're pretty nice as Canadians here. You know what I mean? Except for our national anthem, I'd like to see us like maybe remix that a little bit. But outside of that, and I'm saying that, but it's just like we have so much here, right? So it's folks like yourself that have a message, has a brand to really bring out everything into the world. You know what I mean? And like you say, it's like that mental resilience, that's finding our why, understanding how we can help the kids and get parents involved as well.
And how we can integrate these mental performance principles into our everyday life. Just even reading, like what content are you consuming? What books, what resources? Like even just digitally flipping through the pages of the magazine is doing mental performance, because you're consuming that type of content at that moment. So it's interesting, and we can integrate it into our routines that we're already doing. It's like when I do work with people, I don't want to overhaul everything. It's like, where can we fit in some things so it doesn't seem like extra?
For sure.
Just this is what we do.
How do you want the parents? Let's speak to the parents now. How do the parents get involved with your mission statement and everything that you got going on?
Well, I think it's holistic.
Okay.
Whether the saying is it takes a village, or it takes a team, or parents have it tough. Right? There's so many hats to wear.
For sure.
And sometimes the kids don't want to just tune their parents out at some point. Let's be honest. Like especially through those developmental phases of our cognitive development. We're all on the same team, right? And I have a lot of parents reaching out to me like I didn't know how do I handle this? What's this? And so this is also like I have a section in the magazine dedicated, an article or two dedicated to parents on, for this one, time management. It's like how we can set the stage for great time management with a bunch of like it's in the background kind of stuff and like questions that you can get started on how to set up the schedule and the routine and things like that. So it's a resource in that, and could also be considered a workbook because I have the instructions and like the templates and everything right in the magazine. So
yeah,
kind of it's a starting point. It's not the silver bullet. These are starting points to.
Because I think you speak to parents, and you could speak to the single parents that are growing up their kids. You can speak to the dual household, right? So it's like we know that these kids have a lot that they got to deal with. They got to go to school, right?
Yep.
Then they come home, and then they do their homework, and then they want to play PlayStation and Xbox. But I'm like, if you look at some of the kids there, they never had that, right? So we could speak to certain athletes where it's like they were outside doing what it is they needed to do to perfect their craft. And you look at some of these athletes, they're training 3 times for the day, and you have to have your rest. Now you have some of the superstars that are out there where they have that time where they're bringing the gaming console to the hotel to simply sit here and to escape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think what happens is the youth look at that and they're like, well, they do that, so I can do it too.
I just need to play this and bring this, and we're good. But we also have to remember that at that level, that is the top echelon of, right, the pinnacle. They have everything they needed. They have their mental performance coaches, or probably a team, dedicated sports psychologist or something. They have all of the nutrition, the supports, like this. So this is like, yeah, for the parents, for those athletes that might not be able or have the resources to connect with a mental performance coach or to help, to talk to somebody to work on their mental game. It's kind of meant for everybody in that aspect, probably from the 12 to the amateur elite athlete. There's probably a good 10, 15 years in there that content would be suitable for parents, coaches, the athletes, the organizations, the associations, those types of things.
Now you're speaking to that growth mindset, to the fixed mindset. You know what I mean? Because it takes a growth mindset to get to where you need to go to. But then there's sometimes we live in this fixed reality. So speak to it from a performance standpoint of like, why is it so important to have that growth mindset? And it's like the fixed mindset, because I see it in a lot of different things. Like you have conversations with certain folks and they're still in that fixed reality. And it's so hard because it's like you don't want to come across too hard, but then sometimes it's like you got to just give them that push. And you got to sometimes say, listen, it's with love I'm saying this. It may hurt, but God damn it, we got to just rip that Band-Aid off. But speak to that, my friend.
Yeah, I think in those instances, there has to be a great deal of trust and rapport built to know, I guess, how far you can or push, gently nudge and push. But the fixed growth mindset, like it's impossible to reason, it's impossible to talk and discuss with a closed mind. It's not going to change. You might as well save your breath. The growth mindset it looks at possibilities as opposed to the obstacles that are in play. It's like it's like you put on one lens, it's all black and obstacles, put on the other lens and it's like, oh, I see some openings here. I can do this. I can try this here. Hence closed mindset. You're just closed off to everything. And then what's the insanity? Do the same things over and over again and expect different results starts to set in. Then you start to judge, and then the spiral of comparison and complaining and all of those types of things start to come in, and then you've worked yourself into a slump and you don't know why.
And do you feel like that the growth mindset and the fixed mindset can lead to burnout?
There has to be like adequate rest. So stress plus rest equals growth. So
right there, you just gave us the formula, ladies and gentlemen. You just gave us the formula.
Yeah, stress, physical. Right. So you're doing your trainings, right? Like when it comes to the mental stuff, like in your training simulation, try to get it as close to like leading up to the performances. You're not going to like in the off season jump into, okay, we're going game, playoff ready. No, but it's, simulation. Like you try and get as close to the fire as you can. so you know how much you can take.
Right.
And that hurts. That sucks. That's uncomfortable.
You know, something that you said there, it even speaks to like injuries, because I think like that's something that we didn't even talk about yet, is the injury side of things, where the mental resilience cannot be there depending on the type of injury that you have. And we're speaking like overall ecosystem. Doesn't even have to be within sport, but just in life. You roll your ankle.
Yep.
Depending on how old you are now, it's like it takes long to heal.
You step off the curb or whatever.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, it could be a back injury. It could be, I remember when I broke my thumb back in 2018 Summer Basketball League, 8 weeks. And I was just like, I couldn't do anything. I was just reading books, watching TV. I don't really watch a lot of TV, but I couldn't game. And gaming is like my escape. So it's like, I got to figure out what I want to do. You know what I mean? But speak to like injury and the importance of just really having that solid mindset of the bounce back to set up yourself up for a comeback.
Yeah, the injury, the mindset of injury is very interesting. And any type of like injury, say even like a big one, say your setback, you got to take time away. Like those, if you're out for a couple of days and you can get back at it, you might have there's like injury. There's difference between hurt and injured kind of thing, right? If you're hurt, you can, it's uncomfortable, but if you're injured, you can't play kind of thing.
Yeah.
It takes a lot out because, your social aspect just went, your teammates, the camaraderie, all the stuff like that whole side went out of it. It's very isolating and very lonely in the psyche of the injured athlete. And things can spiral pretty quick, especially if you're laid up and, you can't do the things that you enjoy doing or, the thing that your lifestyle is kind of thing. So, yeah, those are the times probably where all the doubt and all this stuff starts to seep in. There's that initial shock that we all have to go through in the trauma. There's the physical healing and there's also the mental, emotional healing as well. So it's a very long process. There is some interesting literature that talks about like the use of imagery when appropriate, that can, when coupled with like say your regular rehab exercises, can help. I don't want to say speed up, but it can move the process along smoother. So like even just like imagery is a wonderful mental skill because it can be utilized for so many things. Visualization, imagery, it gets, those two words get used interchangeably in the literature. They're defined as whatever, but for what we're kind of talking about, imagery visualization, somebody will know what that means. But you can use imagery for motivation. You can use it to relax or amp yourself up. You can learn a skill, right? Breaking it down into pieces. But using it for imagery or for injury is great because you can actually, like, maybe you do your exercises, whatever they are, and then you can actually visualize yourself doing the exercises, and that the muscles and neurons and things that are responsible for the actual movement of the muscles, those parameters, those pathways are actually doing it. So it's like a double dose.
Where would one pull the imagery from? Is it like imagery from like past, like what you're doing in sports, or
say for the injured knee or the injured ankle, when you get the okay? And this is like I always say, you have to get the okay from your doctor, your physio, like all this. Like I'm not over. That's not my area.
Yeah.
When I can help with making sense of it, putting it in place. Getting help with building, setting goals, routines, building past it, and managing your self-talk and your emotions and things like that. But I would like, perhaps it's like, say you have your physio exercises where you maybe do some deep knee bends or 10 of them or something like that. So you do those and then close your eyes and visualize yourself doing them.
Okay.
Just that that could be an example of how you could utilize imagery, or even before, do 10 reps in your mind, then do whatever the protocol is from your physio.
Whatever the protocol. So you speak to, I heard in the little piece there, you said the mental side of things, and then there's the actual injury itself. Do you feel like, it's not a trick question, but it's like, do you feel like you have to have the mental has to be healed first before that injury is going to heal? Or is it the injury has to heal first before the mental heals?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's one of those like which comes first. Like each individual is going to be
Different.
in that sense, what they're comfortable with, each like sport or event, or, you know, like the environment and what's the tasks are going to have a big impact. But it can be tough. You can be 100% physically cleared to play, but then you're out and you could, you know, feel hesitant. You could feel like, you know, depending on the nature of the injury kind of thing, right? So you can, you know, you don't want to push it too hard because you're, you know, now the fear of re-injury sets in kind of thing. And it's valid. It's real. And it's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's once your brain experiences something like that, it never forgets.
No, it doesn't.
It's like if you're playing like baseball and the first time you get hit with a pitch in the batter's box, you didn't realize that could happen, and it hurts, and you didn't like it. So the next time you're in the batter's box, now your field of whatever opens up even a little bit more. Now there's a possibility I could get hit with the ball. Now I got to take that into account. So it's kind of you're selectively dividing attention kind of thing. So
I love that you break that in because it happens with so many different things, right? Like baseball is one, but then you have certain pitchers that just do that to kind of psych you out, right? Especially if you're overcrowding in the box a little bit, right? But then you look at it with even basketball or hockey, and it's like you could have that lower body injury. It's like you got to understand there's contact that's going to happen.
Yep.
Basketball, you're running around screens, doing all that. Someone can just hit you hard, and then it's like, what am I doing out here? Hockey, someone can just take a shot at you at any given time. So it's like redefining those moments and understanding that, like, hey, I'm healed, but at any given moment, I'm gonna end up I can get hit again, I can get rocked again.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Especially when we talk about like concussions. You know what I mean?
concussions. That's a very sensitive area. We still have so much to learn. We've learned so much, but there's still some it's very interesting time for like the neurological impact and the long-term impact of repeated head traumas.
Have you in your personal and professional world, how do you navigate that conversation? I feel like there's going to be some audience members that may need some like resources, right, to that, and how to like understand like that concussion protocol and stuff.
Yeah, the concussion protocol, it's probably going to take longer than we anticipated because there's so many things that we might not even be aware of that can set us back a couple of steps. You know, even just like the too bright of a light can, you know, all this, you know, and then you're out of commission kind of thing. And it comes at various times. It's like it's almost like an invisible thing, you know, anything like what is it? To us, it is because we can't see inside our heads of what's happening. But the concussions usually take longer. Give yourself more time than you think you're going to need. And then if you don't end up needing that time, you're back to square one quicker kind of thing. But you have to be very patient with yourself. And the longer that it goes on, and once you had like the re-injury is much easier to get. So you can have like a series of concussions, and it does weigh on the mind. It's awful. It's isolating. You know, your head hurts here. You don't, you know, like sleep. Everything becomes so much more important in terms of taking care of yourself. Slowing down is a huge one, but we can't. So
we don't know what slowing down is.
We rush back to things way too quick, and I most of the time we don't give ourselves the grace to heal to the best of our ability.
I love that you say that. That's my favorite line. Grace. Give yourself grace, and we don't do that enough. We don't give ourselves grace, right?
And it's hard too because, you know, like if there's, you know, what if this is like your career and your livelihood and you have to play or you have to compete, even if you're like there's so many different dynamics that come into it that has to be addressed. At the end of the day, it's this individual's well-being at stake. Kind of thing, and their long-term well-being.
Oh, for sure. You spoke a little bit to it, but let's really get into like the deep dive. What is the benefits of the Mentor magazine?
Yeah, so benefits would be, well, just kind of bullet point a few here. Increasing your mental performance knowledge. You're taking a step to actively do something to contribute to your improvement and your growth. I think well, parents, maybe it's validation.
Okay.
They're doing right. They're doing the right things. It's just sometimes I get a lot of questions. Well, I did this. I don't, like, was this right? Kind of thing. It's about that. I'm like, yeah, no, that was sure. Why not? Or yeah, you handled that well, kind of thing. So it's like having some of those things in there that can, kind of just validate what your own thoughts are, or what your own approach was, kind of thing. Or, maybe I need to, or maybe I want to try a different approach, kind of thing. But sometimes it's like, am I doing the right thing? Because at the end of the day, it's do no harm approach. But yeah, benefits can be learning about mental performance, improved performance. If we integrate some of the things, reading in and of itself, consuming the knowledge, confidence, well-being, from a association or from a team standpoint, you're providing, quality information, quality content to your members, to your players, and you're not having to find ways to, do extra stuff on an already tight timeline, kind of thing. And it's relatively low cost. Like I see it all the time. We spend thousands of dollars on nutrition, thousands of dollars on equipment, thousands of dollars on this trainer, that trainer. We don't invest in the training of the mind.
Here we go. Now you're coming in my wheelhouse. Here we go. Oh boy.
I got special coaches for this. I got this kind of coach. I got that kind of coach, which is great, right? To be at that level and compete, you need all of that, but there is an integral part that is to complete the circle almost. And this can be a way to, at least, I think, introduce and kind of get that information in front of the people.
No, for sure. So, cost. What is the cost of the magazine?
It's a yearly subscription, and I think it comes with tax to around $53. It's under $60 plus.
Under
tax.
$60
For six. So it's for
for
six
information.
issues, for 6 issues a year, plus all the extra stuff that's coming out on social media, and then like our website's great. It's got all kinds of blogs on there. It's got and then also with this, we'll be highlighting a bunch of mental performance consultants. Like I also supervise the mentees that need their supervised hours for certification. So I have a great team of mentees that are, doing their education out there, doing their internships, doing everything by the book, doing it, and doing a great job. And it's also an opportunity for them to showcase some of their insights and their knowledge. I have a section in the magazine. It's called Ask the Expert, where anybody can email me a question.
Really?
Yeah, and then it'll be answered in the next issue.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. For $60.
$53.95
Plus tax.
$60.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
So again, sorry?
$53.95 plus tax.
Yeah. So $53.95 plus tax. Let's just say $60, right? Where can you get those offerings from? Anywhere in the world. I'll wait. You know what I mean? So I feel like what you're doing is you're changing and you're setting a lot of folks up for success, right? Because if you break everything down from addition and subtraction, it works out to be how much cents a month? Any math people in the building? No?
60 divided by 12. What's that? $5 a month?
$5 a month. You see what I'm saying? And it's like
Less than a penny a day.
there you go, right? You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. That's what I like here, because it's like you got to pay for the information, right? You did it with your schooling. I've done it with parts of my coaching as well, certifications, things like that. And I think it's one of the most underrated tools that a lot of us don't ever want to do. You got to pay out that information, pay it out, right? And heck, if you may not have a lot of money, it's like, well, save something, cut some sort of cost. Maybe cut that Netflix, that Amazon Prime, that whatever you're using on your stuff, and really just bring it back into yourself, because we all need it. We all need the mental performance. You know what I mean?
We all do. I remind myself of things every day. Like I talked about earlier, set your environment up. Like I said, I got the 30 quotes on my board. Depending on my mood, I look over. I'm just like, yeah. Well, one of them was quite topical. It was by George Washington, 1776. So I'm on the email list for like the Daily Stoic and a bunch of other things, right? So I like it. You get good information. And learning how to apply like ancient philosophies to everyday life and situations. But there was one that was by George Washington, 1776. I think they had just lost the battle, and then they were getting ready to, or trying to gear up again to fight another battle, which it didn't look like they were going to be very successful. And he said something along the lines of, it would be very unfortunate to sit here and ruminate about our present state, or something along those lines. It's like we're sitting here worrying about how crappy things are, as opposed to, even though they are crappy, what can we do about it?
For sure. Because life is ever changing. I feel like it's so cliche. Life is forever changing.
Yeah. And then my quote underneath it is, it's got to suck at some point.
Why that though?
It's got to be difficult at some point.
Okay.
It has to. Every time you hit a plateau, you got to break through it. It's hard. Every time you raise another level, it's that much more difficult.
I like that.
Especially to maintain it.
I like that.
And stay there. Yeah, it's tough.
I like that. So with everything that you do, as we're really encompassing this whole entire episode, when do you find your time to like just rest? And what does that look like for you in a day in the life of Mr. Wade?
Walking my dog.
Okay.
We did have 2 greyhounds. We have 1 greyhound now. Our older one passed away, but I love my dogs. I think animals are so important and integral in mental health and even performance, and just in general day-to-day well-being and I'll say happiness. But so walking my dog a lot, spending time with my wife is nice, but it is nice as well. Of course, it's nice. Enjoyable.
I feel like I should get up the seat and bring her over here, and then they can have a conversation. Bonus episode.
But what keeps me, every night before I go to bed, I'll sit down and write out my to-do list for the next day. Even if I don't get around to everything, at least I've collated and organized my thoughts. Mm-hmm. The things that try to stay hydrated. I like to watch, our daughter Scarlett, she plays rugby. I like watching her play rugby. So and I like being a fan as well. I think that's, I like football. That's like Sunday was always like a special day. My grandpa used to make sure he could rush home from church so he could watch the 1 o'clock game,
For sure.
way back when, back in the 70s and in the 80s and stuff. So it's just little things like that. It's not like I meditate, of course, I practice what I preach in that sense, try to be mindful as much as possible. And mindfulness doesn't have to, you don't have to sit down and close your eyes for 10 minutes. You can be mindful while you're waiting for the bus. You tune into your senses. What colors do you see? What smells do you present? What, those types of things. So any of those little things can be beneficial as well. So it's kind of like just the little things along the way. But yeah, walk the dog in the morning, walk the dog in the evening. It's there's no secret to
no secret sauce.
I believe what I believe in mental performance. I believe in the content that I put out there, or that we're putting out there. So it's
I love that, man. I love that. Well, I want to give it back to you. First things first, plug the magazine where everyone can check it out. Plug your social media links where everybody can check you out. All the show notes are going to be in the description of the podcast. I'm going to say this real quick. I'm going to subscribe, just out the principle.
Appreciate
I'm going to subscribe, and I'm going to push that and just keep pushing that out. And I had one other question I want to ask before you plug your information, actually, can anyone in the world access this? Or is it just reserved just to us Canadians?
No, the focus right now has been local to try and get some traction, get things moving. But it's accessible. It's on the web worldwide.
Perfect.
Check some of the stats. I think we've had some people click on the website from over in the Middle East and South America and stuff like that. So, it's
perfect.
Yeah, www.thementormagazine.ca is the website. Once you go to the homepage, there's you can click on free issue right there. Digital magazine, you can download that as a PDF, or you can flip right through it. We got our YouTube channel and Instagram, and I think an X. I'm not sure.
We'll plug it all. We'll find it all. We'll find it all.
But we have them, and they're there, and good stuff's coming out on that. Shoot us an email, info@thementormagazine.ca.
I'm gonna give you your flowers. Because you know what I feel like is coming up for you too? Some sort of audiobook relation coming through. How do we feel about that, everyone? Yeah. Audiobook?
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Love it, yeah.
Summer of 2026.
Sure.
Let's make that happen.
Let's do it.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we're right now for the magazine as well. We've got it to market. You know, you read all the stuff and all the entrepreneurial stuff. You got to get, as soon as you got something, you got to get it to market, which is true the way the business goes. So we have a like a flip book available. We're also working in the background to make it like, you know, mobile friendly and then accessible and like audio for all of the persons with disabilities as well. It's always a work in progress.
Of course, that's what we can do. We're always a work in progress, right?
Trying to make it as accessible as possible.
For sure. Everybody. No, definitely. And you let me know what you need. You know what I mean? Like we'll definitely push all that information out, push it in my network and things like that, because I feel like you are stronger together. Not as one. We can't all just make it, but just champion the ideal minds that want to inspire change, because there's so much fluff that's out in the world.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. How we can, and part of the magazine, like how, like demystifying mental performance is a way to look at it. And gatekeeping, actually. Thank you. Gatekeeping is the big one. I think the information should be out there for all. I've ran into a lot of professionals that wouldn't even share a concentration grid for an attention activity. Like they keep the cards so close to the chest, and I'm just like, oh my.
Because it's more about them.
Well, there's the ego-driven professionals and the market-driven professionals, right? Or the service-driven professionals and the market-driven professionals. Service is the actual service, where, you know, getting into it, the work, whereas, you know, the market-driven ones are all driven by the money and that, or which, you know, we should be charging for what we're worth and stuff like that. But if you, I don't know, I didn't have to jump through a lot of the hoops that some of that have been put in place for some of the younger people that are coming up through the field right now, and I try to remove as many of those obstacles as possible.
I love that.
Because it's not our part of our role should be making it not easier but smoother for the ones that are coming behind us.
I love that. I love that you say that, because it's who's got time to gatekeep, and I understand we all have to be paid for our services and our expertise and things like that. But if sometimes it may just require someone just jumping on a call with you 15, 20 minutes per month and you mentoring them, not coaching, and that's the difference. And I always hammer this out to folks, and I say is coaching you pay for, mentoring is someone that's going to be there for that pocket of time, at least once a month, and just help season you. And heck, I don't know how you like your steak or your chicken or if you eat fish or whatever, but you got to have the right seasoning with the right sauce, you know?
And you mentioned the timing. Timing's like there's a couple of things that we can't really mess with in the universe, and timing's one of them.
For sure. Wade, I appreciate you, my man.
Appreciate this. This opportunity, has been. I was a little nervous. I was going to say this is the first time I've done a podcast like this or an experience like this. This
Worry about that, man. We make it easy for everyone, you know.
Great. So I've had a lot of fun, and hope to be back.
Definitely, we'll do that again for sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.